Undeclared wars are commonplace. Tragically, our country engages in preemptive war, otherwise known as aggression, with no complaints from the American people. Sadly, we have become accustomed to the illegitimate use of force by government. To develop a truly free society, the issue of initiating force must be understood and rejected. What if Jefferson was right, that government, governed least, governs best? What if it is better to perish fighting for freedom than to live as a slave? What if freedom's hour of danger is now? Is Bobby Bones, and I will always stand up for freedom, liberty, sound economic policies, and most of all, you, the American people. I love you. I hope you enjoy. And God bless America. Hello, fellow patriots, and welcome to another edition here at Broom Media Productions. I'm your host, Bobby Bones, here at Liberty One Studios in beautiful Greenville, South Carolina. I welcome you for joining me. I welcome you to join me. Sorry, I'm still a little bit under the weather. My doctor gave me a Z-Pack, a couple of days ago. It's starting to kick in now. But that's why my voice is a little off. I'm a little off, but I'm dedicated to this show. I am dedicated to this channel. And most of all, I'm dedicated to you, the viewers and listeners of this program. And please stay till the end because I have an incredible announcement regarding this channel. So please, you have to stay to the end to get that announcement. I wanted to go over the Venezuela interventionism that Trump has now put forth onto our country. And, this channel is mostly about economics and current events. And this Venezuela intervention really has taken the spotlight over everything else. Now, my next video will be on economics, and please stay tuned for that because we have a lot of brand new numbers that came out that really shows under the hood of this economy of what's really going on. But I want to remind everybody that, Trump promised America first, right? He promised no more regime change wars. He promised to drain the swamp, right? He promised no more blood for oil. Play the clip of Trump talking about no more regime change wars. Play the clip.
We will expel the warmongers, the profiteers, and take over our government, and we will restore world peace.
But now Trump's changing definition of America first before our eyes threatens to widen a rift with his MAGA base.
The nation-building business.
Now, I just want to bring to everyone's attention that it's not just Democrats that are coming out against what Trump is doing in Venezuela. Prominent Republicans are. Let's play the next clip.
I think it is essential that we cheer for democracy to succeed in Venezuela. The reason I wanted to give an update is because where I became a little more concerned, significantly more concerned, is when the president earlier today did a press conference. And in that, he talked a lot about oil, didn't talk much about drugs, didn't talk much about democracy, talked a lot about oil. But the president has basically taken every negative, stereotype or thought about U.S. intervention in the Western Hemisphere and basically said out loud, yeah, that's what we're doing. That is very frightening to me and very damaging. But you have to trust the administration and the people that are executing this. And unfortunately, I don't.
See, now, here's the thing about what Representative Kinsler has said. And, everybody keeps bringing up democracy. Well, the problem with Venezuela is that they have a democracy. A lot of the problems here in America have to do with democracy and voting, right? Look at who New York just voted in. Would you say, if you're, again, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I am an independent. I am a libertarian. I welcome Republicans and Democrats to come on my channel, to comment, to be a part of this program. But democracies, you can't even find the word democracy in the Constitution, right? Venezuela voted in this government, right? They voted in Chavez, right? They voted in Maduro, right? And I said on my last episode, I find it so hypocritical when I see either Republicans or Democrats talk about the corruption of voting in Venezuela when both parties agree to some extent that voting in this country is corrupt and has problems, right? And I could tell you from somebody who votes for third-party candidates, independents, libertarians, the constitutional candidates, that the real corruption, from my point of view, comes from both parties that create the rules to prevent third-party candidates from getting on the ballot or even getting in the debates. I mean, the last time we had a true third-party candidate in a debate was 30-something years ago with Ross Perot. Play a quick little clip of Ross Perot in the debate.
Right at the top of my agenda, we've shipped millions of jobs overseas, and we have a strange situation because we have a process in Washington where after you've served for a while, you cash in, become a foreign lobbyist, make $30,000 a month, then take a leave, work on presidential campaigns, make sure you got good contacts, and then go back out.
Even Marjorie Taylor Greene is breaking her silence to speak out about what's going on in Venezuela. Let's put up a clip of what Representative Greene posted on X. This is what many in MAGA thought they voted to end. Boy, were we wrong. Let's see further in depth what she had to say.
Now, I am not defending Maduro, and of course I'm happy for the people of Venezuela to be liberated, but Americans celebrated the liberation of the Iraqi people after Saddam Hussein. They celebrated the liberation of the Libyan people after Gaddafi, and this is the same Washington playbook that we are so sick and tired of, that doesn't serve the American people, but actually serves the big corporations, the banks, and the oil executives. We don't consider Venezuela our neighborhood. Our neighborhood is right here in the 50 United States, not in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah, I mean, look, making America first, right, was supposed to be about making sure that that America comes first, right? That we're not gonna have the government steal from its people to send money overseas, right? Trump made it his central cornerstone of his candidacy that these foreign interventions are over, right? We're not going to get into these sort of things. And here we are, getting face planted again, being completely lied to again. And let me tell you, it goes much deeper than that. Check out Susie Wild and what she wrote. She is the chief of staff for President Trump. This is inside the White House. Let's put up the clip of this.
White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles conceded that attacking targets on Venezuela's mainland would force Trump to get congressional approval. If he were to authorize some activity on land, she said, then it's war. Then we'd need Congress.
Guess what? How did Congress react? Let me tell you how negative this is. Congress just voted to block Trump from his interventionist policies in specifically Venezuela, which is hard to do, to actually get Republicans and Democrats together. Let's put up a quick clip of the vote.
The yeas are 52. The nays are 47. The motion is agreed to. The joint resolution will be placed on the calendar.
Now, mind you, while all this is going on, the national debt is absolutely exploding. Americans are struggling. And not to mention, now the Venezuelan people are out there marching in the streets. You have to see here what's going on. Let's play a few clips and show what the reaction of the Venezuelan people was, because there's a lot of propaganda in our country, and I want to show exactly what the people are actually doing down there. Let's play a few clips. And the thing to remember is that once again, it's about big business, right? It's big business as usual. The big bankers, Wall Street, right? The oil executives. The only difference this time is we have a much better salesman named Donald Trump, better slogans, and absolutely better lies. That is the absolute truth. And I hate saying that as somebody who once supported Trump, as somebody who, anybody who's been following me since the beginning, I wished him well. I wanted him to succeed. I wanted him to follow the Constitution and do the right thing. And he is just, everything with him is central planning, interventionism. We're going to topple everybody out there who doesn't agree with us. Whatever we want, we're just going to take on our hemisphere. He preached America first. He preached no blood for oil. He preached no regime change wars. Yet we got the opposite. Let's play another clip and with Jim Jordan, and I'll be right back.
One of the things that I know that the president's supporters absolutely love is that he has been arguing since he first ran 10 years ago that he's going to end forever wars and put America first.
Yeah.
Now he says he's running Venezuela. He's totally open to putting boots back on the ground there. And he's signaling that Cuba and Colombia could be next. How is that America first?
No, look, again, we know that this is not America first, right? And shame on chicken hawks like Sean Hannity and these other freaks that are out there. I mean, President Trump himself is a chicken hawk. When it was his time to serve, right? He had his rich daddy, bail him out, right? The rich white kids didn't have to fight, right? It was mainly the poor and people who weren't able to get out, right? This guy had more bone spurs. He might actually get a record for the most bone spurs in history. And again, I am so tired of people like Stephen Miller and these guys who, they talk tough, right? Because they're hiding behind other people's children, right? But most importantly, Lindsey Graham, who's behind Trump as well, sit there and infected Trump's ear. And Trump is now talking about, just yesterday, he talked about attacking Mexico, literally physically on their property, talking about attacking Colombia, talking about attacking Cuba, right? And let me tell these men out there something. Young men who might be, who don't know, or might be persuaded by the way Trump talks and the way he acts. It's very enchanting the way that he does it. He is a fantastic salesman. I want to tell you firsthand, it is not tough, right, to beat up upon the weakest of people, right? To steal oil from Cuba, from the Cubans, is not tough, right? To threaten Greenland, right, and topple a country of something like 56,000 citizens, right? That's not tough, right? Tough is doing the right thing, right? Tough is standing up for liberty, individual prosperity, right? Sound economic policies, right? That would have been tough, right? The man who campaigned in 2015, the things he was saying back then, that was a tough policy, because that was the man that most voters who voted for him fell in love with. They fell in love with that message of make America great again. And it was a wonderful message. And to see him literally destroying his base, destroying all of that, giving capitalism a bad name because he's using crony capitalism everywhere he does. Everything he does is central planning. He's going to make the deals. He's going to set the price. He's going to set the interest rate. He knows what's best for everybody. And that's not the way markets work. And mind you, one of the reasons why I'm a libertarian and independent is because I am so tired of both parties lying to go to war. They lied to go into Vietnam. They lied to go into Iraq the first time. They lied to go into Iraq the second time, right? They lied to go into Syria. They lied to go into they just lie. And again, it's not that I support the troops. I don't support the government lying to go to war, right? And here we have another example of the government lying. Excuse me, I got a little bit out of breath there for a second. Here we have, now don't forget, ever since George Bush placed placed Venezuela on the axis of evil right after 9/11, right? Because, again, Chavez refused to allow George Bush to build a base in Caracas, and refused to join into the war and give cheap oil. What happened was, then he placed them on the axis of evil, and it's been both parties year after year after year after year attacking the government of Venezuela. And now a lot of Democrats are acting very surprised of what Trump did. But, to be honest, if it wasn't Trump, it'd be somebody else. It's just like the thing where, if you keep calling somebody a Nazi, right, eventually somebody's going to act on that. Now, people have a right to call people names, and, I'm big on the First Amendment. But again, the war drum beat against Venezuela has been for decades. And right up until November, we have little Marco, right, saying to the American people that Maduro was part of a terrorist drug network, right? That was their whole reason for blowing up the little vessels in the Caribbean and all of this. And then we have the State Department coming out now, conveniently, right after Maduro was captured, saying that he was not a part of this stuff, right? And this is what we are talking about. And, the problem in the Trump administration, he's brilliant on one end, because it's like a fire hose of information and people can't keep up with it. That's why I wanted to do another episode on Venezuela, because there's just so much BS out there. I wanted my listeners and viewers to get another perspective, a perspective you're not going to get on CNN, you're not going to get on MSNBC or Fox News or Newsmax, right? Because they have their talking points. Either they're all in for it or all in against it. What I see on CNN and MSNBC and them, they'll tell you all day, oh, Maduro's a bad guy, but we hate Trump and what he did. Look, here's the thing. I don't care if Maduro was a good guy or not. That's not my business, right? It's up for the people of Venezuela to decide what government they want. It is not up to me. I can't say whether or not if he's a good guy or a bad guy. I don't live there. But I could tell you, looking at the reaction of the Venezuelan people, we're talking tens of thousands of people coming in the streets. Go ahead. Let's play the clip over me speaking. Look at how these people are reacting. They love Maduro. They look, that's their system. That's what they voted for. And we have no business telling those people how to live. I don't agree with their system of government. I don't agree with their big socialist government policies. But what the hell? Listen, we can't even stop socialism in our own country, right? We're going to go over there and stop it in their country. It's completely ridiculous. Our politicians can't even manage this country, right? We're going to have them manage their country or multiple countries. It is an absolute losing battle. And, here's another thing to consider. Maduro, for whatever anybody says about him, he was not a fugitive on the run. He was the president of a sovereign nation, right? With lots of political and local power. Again, look at how the people of Venezuela are reacting. Play the clip.
como patria trasero de nadie. Venezuela se respeta.
No piensen ellos, porque extrayeron a un cuerpo, ellos van a venir a gobernar a nuestro país. Decía nuestro comandante Chávez, bastante tierra hay aquí, bastante pueblo hay aquí.
Juventud venezolana, pueblo venezolano, le apoyamos y le decimos al imperio yanqui que no volverá a gobernar nuestro país, que no volverá a gobernar nuestra tierra.
And, you know, another thing that I want to express to my viewers and listeners is that, you know, once you normalize abducting other leaders, right, you're telling every country on earth that if you're big enough, then you can invade your neighbors, steal their stuff, kill innocent civilians, kidnap their presidents and family. I mean, you know, we took the first lady of their country as well. And what it really means, which sort of goes against Trump's tough border stance, because that's the one thing I agree with Trump, is he's strong on the border. Although I don't agree with ICE and that stuff. I think that they've definitely infringed on civil rights. And again, that's where Republicans and Democrats, you know, we should be able to have these conversations. Not, I'm just going to unsubscribe because he said something I don't like. You know, give people a chance. Let's have these conversations, right? And I'm willing to hear all people's sides. But here's the thing. Kidnapping sovereign human beings in other countries who are the president of the nation, that is completely over the line. And what it means is, MAGA, I'm talking to you especially, it means that borders don't matter, right? And the truth is, what happens next in Venezuela is uncertainty. That is why oil executives just yesterday at the White House refused Trump offer, right? Refused it, to commit hundreds of billions of dollars to rebuild the Venezuela oil fields, right? Because there's no guarantee that the country will not spiral out of control the same way Syria did, Afghanistan did, Iraq did. I mean, a matter of fact, let's talk about Iraq for a second, because I see Trump out there talking about, you know, cheap gas prices. And it's true. Gas came down maybe 25 cents to 35 cents, depending on where you are. Could be a little more, a little less, right? But what Trump fails to recognize is that, or won't admit, again, this comes back to the salesman in chief, that the reason why oil prices, and I put this up on an earlier video, which was another banger of a video, but was that Iraq's oil fields and pipelines came back online. And then it's OPEC that is flooding the market with cheap oil. So it's not even drill, baby, drill here at home. It's that Iraq, after 25 years of getting obliterated, now is able to participate again in the oil market in a real way. But again, look at how long it took to rebuild the Iraqi oil, right? We've been at it there probably 6-7 years, right? And now they're just getting back online. And the Iraqi oil is a lot lighter, sweeter, and easier to produce, right, than Venezuelan oil. And the truth is that I've seen estimates of multiple hundreds of billions of dollars, and that's just to rebuild the oil infrastructure, right? That's not the other infrastructure around there to get the oil out of the country, right? And that doesn't count the amount of security you would need, God forbid, if something went south in Venezuela. You know, the problem when you do stuff like this is that you create a vacuum, right? So in order to maintain civility, right, you would need boots on the ground. What does that cost? What does it cost right now to keep our troops barricading Venezuela? Still, at the moment, we still have airmen and seamen literally on the shores of Venezuela. Still, we're talking tens of billions of dollars, right? So when Trump talks about, oh, look, we have this, tanker of oil, that doesn't even cover the admission fee of what we are paying just to be there occupying their territory. And, you know, look, even on Fox News, a Republican congresswoman admitted that her voters in her district are against boots on the ground, which is what this would take. Play the next clip.
As I said, as a 24-year military veteran, this operation, joint military law enforcement and intelligence that was on the ground, I'm sure in Venezuela, was done with surgical precision. It was executed brilliantly, and I commend our troops. I commend President Trump. None of us want nation building. Now, I can tell you, Iowans do not want troops on the ground in Venezuela.
See, now, there's kind of a double speak there, right, when you listen to the congresswoman, because on one hand, she says, oh, you know, my voters don't want nation building, but then she's praising President Trump, right? See, you can't praise somebody when they do the wrong thing, right? And what President Trump did is the exact opposite of what she just said her voters don't want, right? And that kind of doublespeak, you have to listen for it, right? And you have to call it out, right? Because what a congresswoman like that is trying to do, she doesn't want to alienate the little bit of MAGA base that's left in her community. So she has to say, I commend President Trump, but then at the same time say, oh, well, my voters don't agree with boots on the ground. The American people don't want nation building, right? Let's just be honest about it. And I'm glad, you know, the one difference right now compared to the Iraqi war is the internet. And I am, you know, it brings me a lot of optimism with all of the people, Republicans and Democrat voters. I'm not talking about the politicians. I'm talking about the voters are coming out strongly against nation building, blood for oil, and all of this. Now, are there a few lunatics out there who just talk smack and, you know, oh, you know, we're just going to, you know, topple everything and crush them. Yeah, you know, we're going to get them. You know, you have those people out there too. And those people tend to, you know, they're not putting on the uniform. They're not sending their kids. They probably don't even pay any taxes, right? They don't have any skin in the game. They don't give a rat's ass about who or what it takes. You know, they're not putting into the system. The people who are putting into the system, the people who are paying their taxes, the people who, you know, pay for their groceries, pay for the light bill, the people who are living to check to check, worrying if their next Social Security check is going to pay the bills, worrying if their grandchildren and children are going to have to fight these foreign wars. They care. They're standing up. And that brings me great optimism that the people on both sides are actually more unified than people think. So anyway, I wanted to get on and just kind of fill people in on the Venezuela, Trump's interventionist policies. You know, look, you know, I'm against these interventionist policies. I've been against them dating all the way back, long before even George Bush was president. You know, I am against the Vietnam War. I was against our intervention in Panama. I was against our interventions in Iraq 1 and 2. I was for going in Afghanistan, but to get bin Laden and his cronies who were around him, right? But I was also for having a real investigation into 9/11. And I think the American people, just like with the JFK assassination, I believe that the 9/11 report, there's a, you know, there was not a thorough investigation with 9/11 because the powers that be went into downtown Manhattan, New York, and just started getting rid of all the evidence before we could do a real investigation into what went on down there. So I'm very skeptical about what the government says happened in 9/11. And the reason for that is because we know the government will lie. Look at the war on drugs. I mean, I can't believe that with the push for legalizing marijuana and all of this here that's gone on, right, that the Republicans have circled back around into the war on drugs again, which has been a complete and total failure, right? We should be focusing in on, instead of making things illegal and bringing back prohibition, what we should do is focus on rehabilitation and getting people treatment and getting them the proper care that they need. And that's not to say if somebody commits a crime that you don't arrest them. But I also want to give a message to those people who support. Maybe you're watching this and you're like, well, I support the war on drugs. Just remember that the most secure facilities in our country are jails and prisons. They have barbed wire. They have towers with men with long guns in there. You know, they have round-the-clock security cameras and security, right? And that, per population, is where the most drugs are done, right? Per capita, right? So you can't stop it in prison, but you think you're going to stop it out in the streets. It is a ridiculous policy. Innocent people lose their homes, their cars, their stuff, right? Why? Because they're addicted. And this whole thing with fentanyl is that, yeah, fentanyl's bad. But you know what? I probably had fentanyl when I had my surgery. You know, how do you make something a weapon of mass destruction, and yet we're that same government that made fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction and used that as the precursor to go to war in Venezuela. By the way, the State Department reversed that, and I went over this now 3 times. That Venezuela, that Maduro was not part of this drug ring or terrorist organization, but that the same government that did that is also subsidizing the very pharmaceutical companies with free pharmaceutical welfare, right? They get pharmaceutical welfare, and they are producing fentanyl right now. And people right now in hospitals all throughout the country are taking fentanyl. And again, we need treatment, we need education, right? And if you want to compare deaths, more than twice as many people die from alcohol poisoning. Yet, the same government that is making the argument against fentanyl also just put out in their nutritional pyramid thing that alcohol is now part of the pyramid. You know, so these people, where are their principles? I don't know where their principles are. Again, look, I'm giving you the information. It's for you to judge, right? Whether or not, if you agree with me or not, but at least kind of see where I'm coming from, right? Maybe you're new to the channel, right? Did I make sense? Look, if you are just 1% smarter, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the like button. You know, please give a comment. Let me know. And also, I promised that I have an announcement. And the announcement is that now, because of your support and our hard work, collaborating together, YouTube has now just unleashed me onto their network and is going to allow me to go live on YouTube. So look, I'm going to work out the kinks. I've never done it before on YouTube. I'm looking forward to that. That'd be nice because I believe I can interact more with you guys and have more of a conversation and this sort of thing. And so I'm going to work to set that up. But I just wanted to say, and also, look, when I'm going to go live, if you're interested, put your email in the comments. Again, like the video. It doesn't cost anything to like the video. It helps the algorithm. Also, I was looking at my analytics. The past month since I rebranded my channel, my popularity has skyrocketed. Now, mind you, you know, I've not been on that long. This is my 1-year anniversary, is actually this week. And I have been busting it. It's very, very hard. Let me tell you something. It's just like if I was to run in office, right, as an independent or a libertarian, right? It is very, very hard the way that the system is set up to break through. And the fact that you think about this, I put in a full year of work, right? Dedicating time, money, resources, you dedicating your time and resources, spending your time listening to me, commenting, liking the video. And I could not be more appreciative. But just think about all the labor, intensive labor that has been put in just so I can go live, right? Nobody owns me. I have no sponsors. You are my only sponsor. And that doesn't cost anything but your time. Listen, I appreciate you, patriots. And I promise to always stand up for liberty, freedom, and of course, sound economic policies. Stay strong. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.